Tangata Pasifika, Tangata folau, your O.T.V on the Va'a here with Sam and Sefa. Hopefully, you've got your ticket, your boarding pass, you've got your luggage, you haven't forgotten your passport because we are going worldwide today. How are you doing, Mozo?
Good. I'm glad to be on a boat.
Yes. Do you want to elaborate on why you are happy to be on a boat today?
Today, I was involved in a car accident. So it's what 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and it's peak hour traffic time, and yeah, so there's bumper to bumper traffic, and some guy must have just been on his phone, or just I don't know how you can crash into the person in front of you. But this guy, there was four of us, and I was the fourth car at the end. So he hits his first car, boom, boom, and then me. And I just felt the bang like that, straight away, handbrake, straight into park, get out of the car, and just wanting to find out. Everything's okay, my car and his car. So his car did the bumping. His car's actually okay, like his front of the car was kind of all goods. My car is kind of okay as well. It's just a little bit of a dent on the boot, so when you like open it, it kind of like clicks. But the two middle cars, they got like squashed.
They got pancaked.
They got pancaked a bit. So yeah, not a good thing to like end the working day with. You're trying to get home and
Stress levels are high. Traffic is again bumper to bumper. People trying to get home or trying to do some shopping. It's that time
dinner
where
time.
in the afternoon and just want to get home.
Yeah, so I was like filled with rage. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was filled with rage, and I got out of the car, and then just now that I think about it, I'm glad that guy's kids are okay. I'm glad that everyone else is fine, and glad that my car's not too badly damaged. And so if you're wondering what to do if you get into a car accident, everyone. What you do is you make sure, like if it's a small car accident like my one, right? So there's four cars. Make sure that all the cars move off to one side, and you must exchange details.
Details is what you need so that you may claim insurance.
Yep.
And to also know that the person that hit you or you hit is who they say they are.
So I took photos of every car, license plate, and then made sure we all exchanged details. I'm in contact with everyone that was involved in that accident, filing a police report tomorrow. I got an event number from the police. You don't have to call the police to come to an accident if you guys are all amicable. Like it's like you're someone's not hurt or injured, and there's no like arguments going on. You don't need the police help.
So you had sort of a whiplash when the car hit. How at a scale of 10, how heavy was that for you?
It was a surprise. Like I was.
Was it just like a small shunt or like?
Nah, it was. I heard the noise first, and then it's hard to think, because it was bang like in the back, and then you hear it, and then you straight away I'm just like, and then I was blinded by rage.
That's when you got out of your car and you're like, you're right, and then you're right, and then
Right, it was duck and goose.
And were you saying that that one of the a couple in one of the cars was like, oh my gosh, when they saw you get out of the car?
Yep. Road rage. I know, like I have a little bit of road rage.
I think I think it's healthy too. Just a little bit, not like overly, but just just to spice things.
But for all of us here, O.T.V, we're on the Va'a now. I like the blue ear that you've brought.
Yeah,
it's the ocean, right?
It is the ocean, yes. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah,
I just grabbed any old ear and I was like, slap it on the desk, and I'll claim that yes, I chose blue because of the ocean.
Awesome. Well, I'm actually excited today because this is our second episode for O.T.V. It's also it's hard to. This is our second episode of the first season, but also the launch of our first Sam and Sefa series. Now, the Sam and Sefa series we're starting with is about the New Zealand dawn raids, and we wouldn't be able to do this without the help of the Ministry of Pacific Peoples. The Ministry of Pacific Peoples provided funding for this program. It was called Te O Lewa, the Te O Lewa Fund. You can still access this information, not any funds, but you can still access information on the Te O Lewa Fund and what it was for via the MPP website. But basically, it was a fund put out there so people could apply to tell stories about the dawn raids in their way. And I'll just read through some of the objections, some of the objectives of the fund. They were to allow for healing through storytelling for those impacted by the dawn raids, to raise awareness of racism and discrimination in New Zealand, increase understanding and appreciation of the history of Pacific communities in New Zealand, inform the development of educational resources about dawn raids, ensure Pacific languages, cultures, identities in New Zealand thrive. So I think going through the series, we tick a few of those boxes because we want to actually, build the series so people can have access to it. They can come back, listen to this podcast, watch it on video on YouTube, and just see our version of us. They get to join us on a journey as we learn about the dawn raids.
Yeah, because we're by any means no experts when it comes to the dawn raids. You know, we're still learning about it. But yeah, as you said, it's a journey together through what our people went through. And surprisingly, there is a lot of people that know not too much about the dawn raids. So that's what our objective is to sort of help bring out information, help learn together, and bring some of those stories to light.
So my nieces and nephews, so they range from the age of 16 to 20. They didn't know anything about the dawn raids, and that's fair enough. And we're going to get into that, but it's really cool for that generation and other Pacific people, for that generation to learn about it, and for us, because my knowledge isn't up to scratch completely on the dawn raids, even though we've had quite a lot of joining us on this journey, but we, as of recently, in working on this project, have had so much exposure to what happened in the dawn raids and people who were a part of it, but I feel like we're still scratching the surface on what went on.
Yeah, definitely, as you see, scratching the surface, still heaps to learn. We've been blessed to come across a lot of people that were involved in the dawn raids that were also part of the dawn raids from both sides of the fence, and it's just something that we're looking forward to be able to bring to you over the next few episodes. And welcome back to the Va'a. We are now cruising through mild waters. Don't worry about, don't worry about getting too seasick at the moment. It's just nice. What do you call it?
Calm waters.
Calm waters. Yeah.
We're just showing that we're not sailors.
Yeah, we're showing that we're not sailors. I was thinking about flat land. I'm like, how do I say flat land? But yes, calm waters. But in this part of the show, we're going to be talking about what did we learn about the dawn raids in school. Luckily enough, I think I did a little bit in school, but that sort of led me on my journey of self-learning. Diving into this part of our Pacific history that isn't really taught in school. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't get taught in school, and it's been a long time since we've been in school, so hopefully that's changed. But yeah, what did I learn? I learned that the dawn raids was something that happened in our history that wasn't something that was sort of targeted on us, But before we get into that, I want to take us back to where New Zealand was in the economy, what the New Zealand economy was like, why a lot of our Pasifika families came over during the 50s and 60s. New Zealand was quite prosperous at that time. You know, they had a lot of jobs going, there was a lot of work to go around, and there weren't enough people to fill those jobs. So, lo and behold, the New Zealand government reached out to the Pacific nations and said, yo, come on over. We have a lot of work here, a lot of fruit, a lot of honey, a lot of milk. Come on over and fill in these jobs for us. So for a good period of time, New Zealand were enjoying this very prosperous time in history. And a lot of our first generation, the first wave of Pasifika people came over. I have an auntie who first came over in the 50s, a great aunt, sorry, and she moved straight to Invercargill because that's where her husband, he got a job in the freezing works in Invercargill in the 50s. So if you're thinking about the very first wave of Pacific people that came over in the early 50s and 60s, she was one that didn't stop in Auckland. Out of all places in New Zealand, they went far south. They went as south as you can get. Any south, you're in Short Island. So we were enjoying such a good period of time. And then there was sort of like would you say like a recession, Sefa?
Yeah, the Great Recession happened, where like the economy just crashed.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything. It wasn't New Zealand's fault. You know, it was New Zealand's such a small country, such a small piece of the puzzle connected to the rest of the world that, you know, things that happen on the other side of the world can affect us quite severely, and we've experienced that in our own lifetimes. But yes, back then there was a great recession and economy fell all over the world. Jobs started drying up, money started drying up, and then all that time that we prospered, all those jobs that we had, they just went. And then we had too many people in New Zealand and not enough jobs.
Yeah.
And that is sort of what started the journey to the dawn raids. So we had New Zealand, not enough jobs, too many people, and we had our politicians. So Labour sort of started it with their bill, but then National, when they came into power, they used their sort of racist narrative to sort of pinpoint the Pacific people and sort of blame them as to why the New Zealand economy was in the ground. But it wasn't the Pacific people, it was a worldwide problem, but it was so easy to just point out the Pacifica people as, oh, these are the people taking all our jobs. And it's funny because you hear that now. You hear that in this day and age, these foreigners are taking our jobs. There are jobs that, you know, New Zealanders don't want to do. It's usually seasonal jobs.
Yeah, the seasonal jobs are the meat works, fruit picking. During COVID, right? There was like a cry for seasonal workers because obviously borders shut and we couldn't get people over during the COVID, during 2020. And the COVID was COVID 2020.
Yes, it was 2020.
Yeah, it feels so far away, but when that happened, like, you know, that's a job that nobody wants to do, and they like get beneficiaries to go and do that job because they're just no one really wants to do kind of that hard work, and for a season.
Yeah, it's sad because you have a lot of New Zealanders heading over to Australia for better money. So if you flip it back on ourselves, we have these people from the Pacific nations who are coming over to do these jobs that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so we're all comfortable when it's good, but when it's hard times, you know, we reach out. We call on the Pacifica people, call on other other nations that are not too well off, you know, that want to come over and pick in the sun. I've got family at the moment that are up north, so shout out to them who are over here trying to earn some money to send back home.
Yeah, same.
Nelson, yep, Marlborough region. I know down in Timaru and Oamaru and Ashburton.
Yep.
A lot of families there who are working hard as well. So shout outs to you guys and yeah, if you've got families, man, I'd take my hat off to you guys, because imagine we're comfortable here, but then to get a better future, you go somewhere that you've never been before, and
Yeah.
you sort of do some hard labour work where you're just picking in the sun and in the heat, especially Australia. Australia is another place that's quite heavy on
Migrant seasonal
migrants.
workers.
I had a cousin who was in Tasmania, and he said that he was just dying for taro,
Yeah.
dying for just Pacific food, because where they were, it was just out in the middle of nowhere, and they were just picking, but there were no Pacifica shops, no nothing, so they just had to make do with what they had. Yeah, but yeah, coming back to the Dawn Raid period, uh, Robert Muldoon came into power, and then they, as Seth had mentioned at the beginning, they gave power to the police to target Pacifica people for these dawn raids, and it was quite was people don't say it was racist. They were quite smart with how they went about it. They released ads that were quite racist in nature, but you couldn't say it was racist, because in the imagery they depicted both white and brown figures in those ads. But we all know that it was targeted at us.
Yeah.
And even though Pacific Islanders weren't the most, we didn't have the most overstayers. There were more overstayers from European countries. It was so much more easier to pick the Pacific Islanders as targets purely because of our colour, purely because it's easy to pick us out. You know, it's like, oh, there's a brown guy. Oh, does he have the right papers to be here? Is he does he have a passport? And it got to that point where, you know, even Pacific Islanders that were born in New Zealand or had come through the right channels were getting targeted. So imagine just walking down the road and just getting stopped and like, where are your papers? Where are your passports? Yeah, it reminds you of like other times in history, but yeah, it was quite sweet.
And then that's when the New Zealand dawn raids began.
Really?
Is that annoying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, it was annoying back then, so.
well, you get a little taste of what a dawn raid was. But now, dawn raids happened. So between 1974 and 1976, a series of rigorous immigration enforcement policies were carried out that resulted in immigration and police officials conducting targeted raids on the homes of Pacific families. When we, like, you've seen the dawn, we've seen a reenactment of a dawn raid live, and we've seen it on video through TV series. How did that make you feel?
You talk about the one up in Auckland?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so that one was, I really loved how they ended up.
We're talking about the play,
Yeah.
the dawn raids.
The Dawn Raid play, the production. I really liked how the part in the production where they were looking for the overstayers, and all the lights went off, and then slowly the cops on stage turned on their torch and started like shining at you, sort of like that.
Sorry.
But yeah, at that very moment, I tried to think back and just put myself in their position,
Yeah.
in that place and time, and all I could think about of how terrified I would have been. Like, I truly would have been so scared, and to think that that's a period of time that our people went through is just, you know, I can't say that I know what it feels like, but that moment, it really gave us just a little sliver,
Just a little.
a taste of what it was like, and
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't like it. I hated that feeling.
So it's called the dawn raids because, you know, the police went and knocked on suspected houses' doors and just broke in early hours of the morning. So trying to catch the Pacific Islanders off guard. Now, as we saw on video and in person, they went in by force, and it was to kind of like, they grabbed them early in the morning, so some people weren't even dressed properly. Lots of yelling in front of kids as well. So we're talking about the people who were brought, you've just explained, the people that were brought here to help keep the economy going by doing jobs that New Zealanders kind of didn't want to do. and now we're being vilified for because National at that time under Muldoon's reign as Prime Minister, that was kind of one of their key points into coming to power. Listen, we want to get, I don't want to use today's policy, but I will. We want to get New Zealand back on track. And one of those things is like getting the economy fixed, and Pacific Islanders have taken these jobs. And so, a dawn raid during that time, and we've watched a few videos like Oscar Cutley did that one where he got that plank of wood from an old high school.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, where even in schools, so this wasn't exactly a dawn raid, but police and immigration would go into schools looking for overstayers, children that were staying, that were part of schools, and they had found a plank of wood that children had written on when they were hiding from police and immigration. So, of course, a lot of people felt that they needed to protect the Pacific Islanders, so teachers would have a system to ring other teachers, and the immigration police were coming, so hide the kids. And they found that plank of wood where children had been hiding, and they'd written on it. Now, the police were given the power to do this, and it was kind of like they targeted Pacific Islanders because it was easy. The brown people.
Yeah, it was easy just to point out at a group of people. It's like, oh, there goes something that's different.
Yeah.
We should check that guy. But disregard all the other people that were also overstayers.
Yeah, so Pacific Islanders only made up a third of overstayers, but accounted for 86% of those who were arrested and prosecuted. The majority of overstayers were from Great Britain, Europe, South Africa, and the United States. So we only made up about a third of overstayers. Yeah, it was easier to point at us. And by an effect of that, because we're brown and Māori people are brown, like Māoris got dragged into, like questioned about their ethnicity, where they're from, that kind of thing. So Pacific Islanders back in the day that were in the main area of where dawn raids were happening, they had to carry passports and their immigration papers on them at all times. Otherwise, they were like liable for to get prosecuted by police and arrested. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a commercial that was put out by the national government, and you'll see what we mean, because this propaganda is what was used to target Pacific Islanders and was put out by the National Party.
There was a time when New Zealand cities were quiet and clean. People said they were nice places to bring up children. But the cities grew alarmingly. People poured in, not just from the country, but from other countries as well. Soon there were not enough schools or hospitals. The people became angry, and violence broke out, especially among those who had come from other places expecting great things. New Zealand cities are not such nice places to bring up children anymore.
So that there you would have seen the ad that the National Party used back in the 70s to get people to vote for them.
That was their voting strategy.
Yes, as you could see, as I mentioned before, they were quite smart when it came to the ad. They didn't directly call out Pacific Islanders. They just said people from other countries came, people from other nations, and then that's sort of how they used that premise that it was the Pacific Islanders as the reason as to why all the stuff was happening in New Zealand, why there was all these issues, and playing on New Zealand hearts, because they were saying schools were going to get overcrowded.
Yeah.
Hospitals were going to get overcrowded. Cities were going to get overcrowded.
Yeah, and I think at the very beginning of the advert, how it says, like, we used to be safe, like people could feel safe. And then, it kind of alludes to Pacific Islanders, a brown guy.
Yeah.
Being the rowdy one and making it unsafe for people, and
Yeah, it was quite sad. But as I said, they're quite smart. The National Party quite smart in trying to get people to rally the people.
But can you imagine if something like that happened today in New Zealand.
It'd be impossible.
Yeah, adverts on a specific people taking people's jobs and that kind of thing. Yeah, I can't believe it was a policy back then. It was a policy of nationals back then.
Yeah, but I always think, man, if you're worried about foreigners coming to take your jobs, then
Yeah,
you
but started by Labour.
started by Labour.
Started by Labour. They created it, and the National were like, "What? I'm digging."
Because I think they shelved it, maybe.
Yeah, but but that's beside the point. At that time, this is for Pacific people. They became vilified, so they became the bad people. They became the people who were taking people's jobs. They were viewed as violent. All Pacific Islanders were viewed as overstayers. And all of a
They
sudden,
couldn't target, the Irish people or the European people that were overstayers, as you mentioned. Out of all the people that were overstayers, Pacific Islanders only made 1/3 of it, made up 1/3. So there was 2/3 of people that were not Polynesian, that were overstayers, but they couldn't target them because, like what happened with the Māori, they got targeted. So by targeting Europeans, they were like, "Oh, how are we going to differentiate the New Zealanders that are here, the New Zealand Europeans that are here, from the ones that are overstayers from Europe?" It's hard to, because they're the same colour.
and it sucks when it comes to think of it. I don't think I learned anything about that in high school, about the dawn raids. I did learn about the dawn raids when we went to specifically Pacific SPACPAC, I think here in Christchurch, where they get all Pacific kids from high school to go to a certain event. It's kind of like a careers expo, and we went into breakout rooms and we got to meet the Polynesian Panthers. And this was when I was like 13. Two of them came, but I was too naive, too young to understand the plight of what they were talking about at the time. So they would have told their story, but as a kid, I don't think I would have absorbed it that much. But that was one day out of 5 years that I had learned about the dawn raids. Other than that, it was when I thought of dawn raids, it was the music company started by it was Brother D in that.
Brother D. That's so common. Even not just with the dawn raids, but a lot of New Zealand history or history of countries around the world. Even the Aborigine people in Australia, a lot of them were massacred. But that's history that people don't want to teach because it's an ugly history. So it's not surprising that in the New Zealand education system, our ugly history was never brought up, because you don't want to talk about all the bad things that happened in the past.
Yeah. Now, I found a little bit of an extract from an article online called The Terror of the Dawn Raids. So we'll put the link up below on how to access that. But I'm just going to read a little bit out of it because it goes into a little bit about, it's got an actual quote here from a Tongan lady who went through a dawn raid. So at 6 a.m. on Tuesday, 17th of February 1976, police and immigration officials swooped on an Onehunga home of Mrs. Telesia Topping, a Tongan who had lived here for 10 years and married a New Zealander. She was almost in tears as she told her story to the Auckland Star. A young policeman, about 22 years old, came into my room. I asked him what he was doing in my bedroom. He did not answer. I was really frightened. He went to the bathroom, inspected it, came back and pulled the covers of my bed. He pulled open the wardrobe, fiddled with the clothing, checked everything. The same policeman went into the adjoining room where my two nephews, aged 19 and 20 years old, were asleep. The policeman shone a light into their eyes, saying, "Get up, get out." My nephews were very frightened. The police then started dragging them out to their van. So we've seen that in play and on film, but people experienced it in real life, where they just in the middle of the morning grabbed by the police, dragged out into vans, put on an airplane and sent back to whatever Pacific Island they came from. Now, this also has a quote from that I'm about to read as well. The dawn raids of 1974 and 1976 were the most blatantly racist attack on Pacific people by the New Zealand government in New Zealand's history, and that's written by Dr. Melanie Anai in a new book, The Platform: The Radical Legacy of the Polynesian Panthers. And speaking of the Polynesian Panthers,
That's when the Panthers arrived.
Solid, is that
Right.
Solid is that Solid is
Leave me alone.
I was gonna say, is that the most 70s kind of glasses you could find? The hair works. I reckon like it just needs to be a little bit bigger.
Yes, because I have a really big head. But this was the most 70s glasses that I could find that I could find. Hopefully I can find my grandma in this while I'm at it too. But yeah, I love these glasses and this afro. You see, it makes me look a bit younger.
It does, bro.
My dad used to have an afro, so maybe I'll take a photo later and be like, "Hey, Dad, look.
Yeah.
Are you looking at yourself?" He'll probably be like, "No, you disappoint me." But yeah, the Panthers were huge when it came to the movement. Just a little background on the Panthers. They were actually already established before the Dawn Raids. So they were already a force about 2 or 3 years before the Dawn Raids happened. They had already been established because there was already stuff happening within the Pacific. Communities that needed help. You know, they were creating, you know, what was it, high school programs or after school programs for communities, all that sort of stuff. But then when the Dawn Raids happened, they jumped on it and they did a whole lot of good work, you know, when it came to protesting. They rallied the communities together, and some of the people that we'll talk with over the next couple of episodes, they have some awesome stories, you know, about going against their parents.
Yeah.
Not wanting to, their parents were like, no, stay away from them. But they were, no, we're going to go and start this movement. We're going to go and help our Pacifica people out. And there was that internal struggle within the community that is also something that isn't spoken about too much.
Tell us about the speakerphone that you've brought.
So this speakerphone was something that we got from their storage. But they would have used something similar to this during the protesting. They would have gone to politicians' houses.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the coolest things that I heard about
Yeah.
the Polynesian Panthers in response to the dawn raids on Pacific Islanders by police.
They would have, they decided to protest by dawn raiding the politicians, you know, and that's a story that I always love to speak about, because you have people that are protesting these days, like the Stop Oil, that are just not doing it right. You know,
They need to take a book out of the Polynesian Panthers and do like proper protesting.
yeah, they need to protest
Real
against
protesting.
the people that have the power to make decisions,
Yeah.
not stop traffic.
And that's like, can you imagine like the Polynesian Panthers if they had went and did like stopping traffic back then?
It would just annoy people even more.
Yeah, how people will be behind those dawn raids big time.
Yeah, they were like, oh no, dawn raid them, dawn raid them.
Yeah, time for dawn raids.
Get them out of here.
But like, I admire that so much that they went and in the early hours of the morning found the politicians' homes and dawn raided them with the speakerphone like you've got.
Yeah, they would have turned over and they're like, hey, Robert Muldoon, show us your papers.
Exactly, and then he would have called the cops and they would have had to like skedaddle real quick. So man, that's like that protesting and that kind of story, like it's amazing to hear, and it's basically a triumph for Pacifica at the time because they were making their voices heard. Because when I asked my mum and dad about the dawn raids, they were in Christchurch, so most of it kind of happened up north, and they kind of knew what was going on / didn't want a bar of it kind of thing. But yeah, that kind of approach, the Polynesian Panthers. I don't really want to go too much into it because of a future episode that we've got coming. where we get to actually we've met them in person.
Yeah, we've sat down, we've had lunch, we've actually had a... I want to take these glasses off real quick. We had a good talanoa with them and actually got to dive into a lot of the stories that of what they went through.
So I was part of that lunch, but the actual interview that they got to sit down with, only you guys get to do that. I chose the right time to go to Thailand, unfortunately. But yeah, I was so jealous of you getting to sit down in Talanoa with them, which would have been awesome. But yeah, in a response to the police dawn raiding our Pacific people back then, the Polynesian Panthers took it upon themselves to rally a voice for Pasifika and to take that fight on. They were... Yeah, I don't want to go... No, that's enough. I don't want to... Yeah.
You hear it straight from them on the next episode.
We want to talk about the Polynesian Panthers, but yeah, that's a future episode. So we've covered, like, in this episode, we just wanted to touch, like, a little bit on kind of what the Dawn Raid was, because we're going to be talking to people who have experienced the Dawn Raid differently. And after the break, we're going to have a chat about the latest series to come out about.
I think it came out a year ago.
But it's the latest kind of version of the Dawn Raid story. So catch us back after this.
What do we, the Polynesian Panthers, stand for? What do we, the Polynesian Panthers, stand for?
Stuff.
We...
Shit. I know you think you are a man now. You're still a boy.
I'm trying to make a difference.
You boys all got New Zealand passports, eh?
We're New Zealand citizens, sir.
If I let white bloods off the hook, they'll eventually behave themselves again. But you lot, there's no changing you, is there?
My mate Stretch said you're the leader of their new gang, the Black Panthers.
You deserve a leader, a visionary, a navigator led by the stars.
Will you stop it? I don't need a visionary.
Where are you going?
What about us, Tess?
Do you get girls? Heaps, eh? I can tell.
We islanders deserve to be seen and heard too.
I will deliver us back to the safe New Zealand you knew and loved. Unwanted islanders should be deported back to the islands they came from.
We've been in the shadows.
Piggy's got the whole country believing in the story that he's telling.
See, we think we can win in a system that's rigged against us, brothers.
I've been calling for my people. I'm all for revolution, but we need to start thinking bigger.
The old way isn't working. They're not gonna listen until we make them listen. Get ready. We do to them what they're doing to us. Power to the people.
Feel safe this city anymore. I will clean up the street of this scum.
We're in a war. Our soldiers die on war.
Yes, I am.
What do we, the Polynesian Panthers, stand for?
I'm walking to the light.
We stand for motherfucking change.
I'm walking to the light, walking to the light.
Of our forefathers, try to strip our dignity, we overcome it.
Thanks for joining us back. You would have heard or just seen the trailer for the Panthers, a miniseries that came out set in New Zealand. Set in Auckland in 1974, The Panthers focuses on how a group of Polynesian students and street gangsters, led by Tongan student Willie Ilolahia, formed a revolutionary movement called the Polynesian Panthers, drawing inspiration from the American Black Panther Party. I watched this when it came out during COVID. during COVID. So it is quite some time since that, and I thought it would be good for us to kind of like review, because it was based on that time period, 1974. You can do like if any review really. What do you remember? There's cons and pros. You want to take cons?
Yeah, I'll start us off on the cons.
Yeah.
For the TV series, I sat there and I watched all episodes.
Me too.
In one sitting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say some pros. I can't just stick to cons. Nah, it's just cons. The cons of the TV series was there were parts of the series which focused on things that I believe didn't really matter or wasn't. I don't feel like it should have been captured. For example, there was the relationship between the Balangi police officer and his wife, and the struggle of being a police officer and how that was affecting the relationship. I didn't know what that had anything to do with the dawn raids.
And then his relationship with the other cop.
With the other police officer. Yeah. So there was a huge focus on that. And I felt that they had missed completely the chance to really hone in on like a proper Pacific story. It could have been a Pacific story between like a family that were here legally, and there were those stories of those sort of families knowing other families that were here illegally, and then we heard stories of people dobbing other Pacific Islanders but the part of the series, I think it was on the very last episode or second to last episode, where they showed a dawn raid. It was so short.
Yeah.
It was just, they had, I think it was 6 episodes?
6 episodes.
6 whole episodes, and you saw the first episode where they get, roughed up in the bar and they get taken away in the paddy wagons, and then the next time you see something that intense was at the very end, and it was just, a couple, not even maybe 2 minutes of them showing what a dawn raid was, and for a TV series to be called the Dawn Raids and just to have very limited imagery when it came to those aspects of our history was quite disappointing. I thought there was going to be like way more in that term of storytelling.
Yeah, like Will's growth was a little bit captured in that, and kind of what they first did in starting their group. There was a little bit about that in there. But it's like, when I think about it, because I watched all 6 episodes, like you, in one sitting, to be honest with you, I only remember that I kind of disconnected from the actual topic, Dawn Raid. It was more focused on the drama between the cop, his brother, the brown cop, Barangi cop, and his wife. Will kind of took a back seat to that.
Yeah. And there was a bit more. It was more drama, than anything. There was, they could have captured stuff. There was a little bit of sort of the stop and frisk on the in the streets.
Yeah.
But there should have been way more of that. There should have been way more of families getting dawn raided, just stuff that our Pacifica people had gone through. But I guess if you've got budget to give 6 episodes, you're going to have to find filler somewhere. But yeah, over to you for the pros.
Yeah, so Sam's left me to do with the pros, but that's all we have for today's show. Pros. The biggest pro out of this is probably the music, the soundtrack.
Diggy Dupe.
Yeah. So music, a 13-track compilation of original music by artists like Troy Kingi, Diggy Dupe, and Choice Vaughan, and also a lot of Pacific Islanders that jumped in on the track as well. So the big memorable part is actually, like, I remember for our podcast after that, we played music from that soundtrack. So the soundtrack was, like, very memorable. What else was a pro? I guess, like...
The fact that there was a TV show is a pro.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a TV show about the Dawn Raids was a pro. I can see a lot of positive reviews online for the show, but personally, I think we agree that it was just kind of, the Dawn Raid aspect was a little bit missed.
It was a little bit like just in the, as you said with Will, he just took a back seat. You know, there was so much more that they could have captured or told, or way much more stories they could have told. You know that you talked about with the wooden plank.
Yeah.
You know,
like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sort of image, bringing that sort of stuff up. But you know, there's so much more I could say on this TV show, but I don't want to.
Yeah. So, final rating, like out of 10.
I would say, I'll give it like a strong number, like 7. But if I don't know any history about Dawn Raids, or if I wasn't connected to Dawn Raids, if I'm just someone that just watched the TV show just to watch it, then it was a really good TV show. But because I know the history behind the TV show as to why, you know, they did this TV show, I want to give it like a 4.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. I would give it a 3 out of 10. That's because I'm the police, and they portrayed us very poorly in that show. It's not all about relationships on the force. No.
We're not corrupt.
We aren't corrupt, okay? Especially in New Zealand. No, I give it a 3 because, mainly because of those things. They missed real key parts of historical events that happened, and certain people that we spoke to that have real ties to this event would give it the same rating, would you say?
Yeah, we spoke to people that had lived this era, and they had also said that they feel like it wasn't captured properly. Yeah, and I guess that's all we can say about that kind of stuff. Yeah. But a 3 out of 10 for me, 4 out of 10 for you. But like, I think I need to rewatch it. I watched that through once. I'm gonna be honest. I watched it through once. Yeah, I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
I think that's where you get the high ratings from. How I was saying, if you're someone that didn't know any of the history, it's a good TV show. If there was no background on it, it was it was a well told story, but because it's linked to these historical events, I feel like it wasn't portrayed properly. So. They really didn't follow the source material.
Yeah, so shout out to like the Polynesian actors that were in it were awesome, and it starred Demetrius Kolomatangi, Jordan Vahakolo, Belua Koale, Troy Kingi, and Frankie Adams, and it was. Like I watched it episode 1 to 6. I guess I need to rewatch it again to see if there's anything, if that changes. But definitely do check it out. And if not anything, take away the music, man. The music was good.
Yeah, download Diggy Dupe. His soundtrack was just so good.
Yeah.
I think one of the episodes started off with this track, and I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, it was good, eh? Yeah. So the next episode on O.T.V is going to feature a good friend of ours. And he is talking to us from the point of being part of the Dawn Raids play. We're super lucky. Do you want to talk more about?
Yes. Yeah. So Jake Arona, he is a mastermind when it comes to plays, acting, and we have him on the show. He played one of the main characters in the Dawn Raid production that we were so lucky to head up to Auckland to watch. And we'll just be talking to him about what it was like to work on a story that had such a huge historical significance to our culture.
Yeah, and like the play, save it for that episode. Yeah. Don't go into it anymore, Sefa. But thank you for joining us on the Va'a today, episode 2 of O.T.V. Also, the maiden episode for our Sam Sefa series featuring the Dawn Raids. We hope you enjoyed the show and join us for our next episode coming out very shortly. Sorry, I feel like I'm arresting you. So I'm still in my get up and you're like...
Leave me alone. Police brutality. Nah, we'll catch you guys later.